PC's frozen. There we go.
Green light. Go, go, go.
Alright. Welcome to the stream, everybody. We are now at round 6 for ACC. And we find ourselves at Hungary for tonight's race. So the drivers are now starting their qualifying lap. I'm just trying to sort out a slight technical difficulty because my OBS does not want to work with me. Here we go. Before we get on with the qualifying, as all the drivers are now coming out, I've got to be quick with this. We are affiliated with Rogue Energy. Use code PHX at checkout for 10% off your order. That's the wrong button. There we go. There's a stream. But yeah, welcome to Hungary for round 6. I believe it'll be 100% dry. 0 chance of rain for the race, so it'll be nice to see our drivers be able to have full control of their car, more or less without driver error, with no problem. Fortunately, I believe it'll be just me today. My co-commentators are not here with me, sad face, but it is what it is. I can manage. We've still got some custom liveries. We've got ourselves Ackerman. He's brought in a new livery for us to see. His purple goose livery, obviously showing off the Team Rocket. Lovely, lovely. A nice message from Maverick, also spelled incorrectly, which is always fun. Though he's not going to change it, which is also fun. Yeah, welcome to qualifying. Let's try and get this changed to overall. Currently, our champion from last season, Ackerman, is not in the lead in terms of points. Oosby is currently the driver in the lead. I think he's in the lead by, let's have a look at the standings. For the Pro Tier, Oosby is in the lead by, I think, 41 points. And with 3 races to go, offering 25 points to the driver in first place. With no fastest lap for ACC, it is still possible for Ackerman to defend his title, but that will require him to win this race, crucially, and Oosby to not score any points, for him to have a much better chance at Suzuka next week. For the amateur tier, we have Elcor currently in the lead, sitting at 105 points. Just 26 points behind him is Cthulhu. So still a very close battle for the amateur tier championship. And then for the GT4 race, we've got Vin currently in the lead, sitting 21 points ahead. Very close battle between him and Falzetti with 79 in second place, and Kirby in third with 70. So still 3 championships on the line. No one will be walking away with the championship in hand at the end of the race tonight. But certainly will find themselves a step closer to winning the race. Or to winning the championship, sorry. Sorry if you hear Windows going badoom, because apparently it has this need to tell me when my DPI changes. As now we follow with Ackerman going for his first hot lap, Hamlet with a fastest lap of 1:45.6. Oosby, to no surprise, puts in a new fast lap of 8 tenths quicker, 1:44.7. Currently the leading championship, currently the championship leader, by however many points I just said, 52, I think. Hungary is a very tight track. For F1, it is very famous for the lack of overtaking opportunities. We've already seen in the 2021 season, Hamilton, for example, getting stuck behind Alonso. Great go of defending. parking his car beautifully along a lot of the apexes and avoiding the Mercedes getting through. So with F1 cars having incredibly great downforce and incredible speeds around the corners, struggling to overtake, I can imagine, and then we can all assume, that the GT3s and GT4 cars will have the same issues. They have significantly less downforce and significantly less speed into the corners compared to the F1 cars, so we will have to see how they handle this very tight track with limited overtaking opportunities. And unlike F1, there are no DRS zones. Pit straight is just the pit straight. So it's down purely to the raw pace of the car. We see Altosis now rounding the final few corners. Round corner 14 now, close to the wall, down to the line. What can Team Rocket do? Team Rocket puts in the fastest time of qualifying so far by a 4/10 improvement, a 44.372. Very good improvement by the Aston Martin driver. Let's see if we can... there we go. There is the teammate, James Konos, the AM tier driver for Team Rocket, rocking in the Honda. Let's see actually what car exactly. I don't know this. The Honda NSX GT3 Evo. If that means anything, I don't know. Let's see what the second driver of Team Rocket can do. Uzbi does improve his lap to Ackerman, improves it by 0.3, however does not find himself that much quicker to take the top step from qualifying. As we see James going through the chicane, very tricky chicane, you can very easily lose your car. If you go over the curbs too much, you will find yourself flying or off of all four wheels. Now as we see James coming towards the end of the second sector, his teammate just behind him. You can go wide into this corner. Fortunately, track limits are slightly relaxed on some of these corners, so a lot of these drivers will find ease with a lot of these corners. But having said that, there are also corners where they are extremely strict, so track limits are going to be a huge game changer if anyone receives a penalty for it. Here comes James rounding the final corner, corner 14. I'm actually not sure if this is a hot lap, but we'll see as he crosses the line. James puts in a pretty good lap, finds himself now 10th place, ahead of Jay Spinner, the only Porsche driver in the GT3 category, as Hamlet puts in a third best time, finds himself 5/100ths faster than Shanae, the third of the pro tier drivers in the race today. Today we also only have 2 GT4 drivers. We have our current championship leader for Greenpoint, Falkenberg, finds himself in the pits, currently put in a lap time. What is that? A 1:56.7, with Falzetti managing to put in a faster lap time just ahead of him. Now as Falzetti comes around the last corner, is he on a good lap? Let's see. Fortunately, unlike F1, it doesn't show up on the minimap if it's invalidated or not. And it... I don't know if he improved. No, he didn't. Unfortunately, that was not an improved lap. Next cross line, we got Happy Face currently sitting in 8th. Green, mean, lean time. I still put Time Machine in there. In his beautiful lime green car. Going around into corners 2 and 3, starting his hot lap. Let's see if he can make an improvement. In fact, let's ride on board with him. Let's see. This is the button. Keeping his car very well under control. This is the curb killer corner. For a lot of F1 drivers will know that this corner is a nightmare to drive around. You cannot touch that curb under any circumstances. Into the tight chicane currently with a couple hundredths of a second improvement, right on the cusp of his previous best. Come on, Kevin, you got this. into the end of the second sector. Just slightly slower than his previous best, but there is still a lot of this track left. He can still make improvements into the 12th corner. Very tight right-hander. You got to really keep your car in control into the second to last hairpin. Currently 3/10 improvement down towards the 14th corner. Got to really keep the car as close to the wall as you can, and right to this finish line. Pedal to the metal, get through the gears and across the line. That is a 3/10 improvement by Happy Face. Unfortunately, that finds himself still in 8th place, but still one hell of an improvement by the Audi driver. Finds himself 1.3 seconds. No, sorry, that's 0.8 seconds behind Jay Kelly, the teammate. As Jay Kelly improves his lap time, Jay Kelly now finds himself up into 6th place. Jay Kelly, the teammate in the Pro BMW team, finds himself now up into 6th place, with Ousby improving his lap time, but again finds himself just half a tenth behind Ackerman. Ackerman with a stonking lap around Hungary today. Yeah, the curbs on F1 are pretty horrible on this track. Ollie, I agree. But yeah, to my surprise, we have Ousby improving his lap time, but unfortunately, with only 3 minutes left of qualifying, he has not managed to take pole position from Ackerman. Let's have a look. Is he on a hot lap today? Right now. He is, and he is slightly improving, currently matching his previous best. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Into the second sector, actually currently in between a few cars. We've got, I think that's Sinead just ahead. Hopefully they can get out of the way, as Ousby does appear to be on a hot lap. Into the very tricky section, Sector 2. Very tight corners, very slow, technical corners. Here you can see the drivers can go a little bit wide out of that corner, but the rest of them, the game will penalise you quite severely if you take track limits to your advantage. Unfortunately, he does invalidate his lap. There he goes. Let's see, who else do we have on the track? We've got Kelly, teammate of Ousby, the current defending championship leader, also rocking in that BMW. Honestly, the BMW livery, I have to say, is quite spectacular. I love the livery. Though I think my favourite probably will have to go to. I can't actually have a favourite. I can't have a favourite, not with our drivers. Because so far we've got Greenpoint, Pro Team BMW, and Team Rocket. And unfortunately, no other driver has submitted their own livery yet. But there are still three races left of this season, so plenty of opportunities for drivers to put in their custom liveries for them to show off on track and on the stream for me and my co-commentators to watch. We'll find ourselves at Suzuka next week in the rain, so it'll be very interesting to see what happens, what comes from that race. And then the season finale will be at Monza, the Temple of Speed, so really going to show off who has the faster car, who has the best pace through many of those corners. Of course, Monza has, what is that, 1, 2, 3 straights on it. In F1, we got 2 DRS straights, so it'll be interesting to see what we can see there. As now Sinead comes round the final few corners into 13, down towards 14, with 40 seconds left on the clock. Is he going to improve this time, or is he going to go and floor it for this next lap, this last lap of qualifying, and improve and further extend his gap from Ousby behind across the line? No improvement there, but he does have one last lap. Let's see what the current defending champion can do. Into the first corner, Very tricky first corner, unfortunately. Fortunately, sorry, you can run slightly wide out of the corner there. Down to corner 2, very, I say sharp, very leaning downhill left-hander. Got to be really careful. Ah, he goes off. Okay. Oosby behind. Is Oosby on a hot lap? Basic cut. There we go. Oosby is on a hot lap. Oosby currently matching his previous best. Right on the line. Slightly small improvements. Small unimprovements, I guess. Into the chicane. Finds himself now a 10th up. Half a 10th up. Very tricky chicane. Even in ACC, although the cars are a lot slower than F1, you can still find yourself spinning around those chicanes, as I found when I was practicing around the track myself. Into the second sector, keeping his car well within the limits of the track. Down into the 12th corner, very sharp right-hander. One of few very sharp corners on this track now into the last hairpin, second last hairpin, unfortunately losing a lot of time. I think he locked up into that corner. Now into the last hairpin, can he somehow make that time back? He is slowly making time, but unfortunately he does not make enough time, and now comes across the line with no improvement. Oosby finds himself now in second place. That is the qualifying grid there. Ackerman, with a very good lap indeed, finds himself up on pole. Shanae, another contender for the championship this season, to our surprise, he is down into 4th place. He's on the second row of the grid, and Hamlet, with the Audi, puts himself ahead by half a 10th. James, you're not slow. You're just really quick for your pace. Yeah, we'll roll with that. You're quick for who you are, and that's good. It's always about improving yourself. It's always, not everyone. For example, myself, I definitely do not have the pace or the consistency or even the bravery to be able to fight for a championship in the amateur tier. But it is all about improving. This game does require a lot of work and a lot of practice. Learn how the car reacts. Know when to gear up, gear down. Don't have your tire burst on the last lap, as I once did at the start of the season at Misano. So a lot of things to be careful of during this race. As we do now wait for the qualifying to start. We do have a few penalties. However, unfortunately, I do not believe we have any of those drivers on the grid today. We have Matthias 888, who is not racing with us tonight. He has a pit lane start. Joshay as well, unfortunately, not racing with us with a pit lane start. And along with that, Joshay with a drive-through. So the next time they race, it will be a very difficult race for them indeed. But those are the penalties we have. It is in our rule book. If you get a certain number of penalty points on your license, you will be required to serve those penalties. As we now see the drivers lining up on the grid, we will have a rolling start, as usual. Ackerman with the inside line for the first corner, so hopefully he can get a brilliant exit. I think Suffocating, you'd agree with me as well here with F1. The inside line is, of course, very powerful on a lot of corners, especially for Hungary. So it'll be interesting to see how powerful the inside line is for ACC. As, of course, mentioned previously, these cars have a lot less downforce and a lot less speed. And we have a helicopter on the shot as well. I didn't actually think we'd see another vehicle in this game, to be honest. But here we are waiting for the drivers. Certainly will be an interesting race. Will Uzbi continue to extend his lead ahead of the previous driver champion, that is Altosis, in the Aston Martin, or will we see Altosis be able to finally score some strong points for Team Rocket and find himself up and decrease that gap ahead of him to Uzbi? It all comes down to this race. It all comes down to, well, actually, I'm pretty certain, if my math is correct, Uzbi needs to score around about 17 points, 17 or 18 points ahead of Altosis in this race before he can take the championship. Let's have a look. Let's put on the broadcasting sheet. See the timing screens, put ourselves right to the front of the grid with, I've lost them already. There they are, Ackerman, green light. Ackerman with a pretty good start. Uzbi with a much better start finds himself much further ahead than the Aston Martin driver. Uzbi taking the lead of the race. Altosis looking down the inside. He does make the move. Can he keep his car down the inside? Perfectly kept down the inside. Retakes the lead of this race. Uzbi down in second. Shanae finds himself up a place with Cthulhu and Elcor just behind. Elcor, unfortunately, losing his position there. Now, as we go into the second sector, we have Ackerman back in the lead. Uzbi second. Shanae finds himself up into third. Cthulhu up into fourth. Elcor down to fifth, and the teammate of Uzbi down into sixth. And the order seems to remain the same for the rest of the drivers behind. In fact, unfortunately, I think there's a three-way battle here between the McLaren, Porsche, and Honda. James, unfortunately, finds himself lost position down into 11th place. Falkenberg ahead of Falzetti. Will Falkenberg continue to extend that lead ahead of his rival, Falzetti, or will he lose out on those extra points there? As mentioned previously, this is a very, very difficult track to overtake, so I believe the middle sector will be quite a stale part of the race. It will always be quite quiet, very few things happening unless we see the GT3s trying to overtake the GT4s, which will be very difficult. GT4s are about 10 seconds slower on average to the GT3 drivers, so overtaking in the middle sector will be risky. It's certainly possible, but it'll be extremely risky. And we have warned our drivers today that, you know, if you are going to try and make a move such as that, be extremely careful, because you can lose the race in one corner very easily, very quickly. Hello, suffocating Ollie.
Oh.
Welcome to the co-commentators box. Commentators box.
Yeah, we've woken up a bit more now, and
There
I'm
we
raring to go.
As Ackerman goes wide, coming out of the fourth corner. Uzbi now right alongside him, coming around the outside into the fifth corner, down towards the chicane. Ackerman almost losing the back end of his car. Uzbi going down the outside into the chicane, possibly looking for a switchback. Ackerman going quite hefty on the curbs there. Certainly saw a nice handful of sparks there. We do have a couple of drivers, I think, slow at the back there. Looks like James and Falkenberg had a bit of a incident. We'll have to look at that in a moment. As Ackerman, after having a very unfortunate exit of the corner, finds himself still in the lead, almost losing out. If he goes to the back now, I think there was Falzetti. What happened to James here? James was 11th place, but he wasn't this far back. So something definitely would have happened between these drivers here. We'll have to see what happened in the reports later this afternoon. But so far, with a couple flashing lights, drivers are allowed to flash their lights, though it does not mean anything. It's just, you know, frustrated for the driver ahead of them. We do still have now into the second lap of this race. The order remains fairly unchanged. Ackerman's still in the lead, 6 tenths ahead. Chenet finds himself up by 1 place along with Cthulhu, and Hamlet unfortunately finds himself down a place after being overtaken by his by another AM tier, and Chenet just behind him qualifying in 4th place. We have Max, the only Ferrari on the grid today. New driver with us today. Definitely look forward. So far managed to qualify in the middle of the pack, which is honestly for a debut race very good start to his career with us at Phoenix. Be interesting to see what the Ferrari driver can do around Hungary, of all places.
Yeah. Of course, we had I think it was a 3 or 4 way fight in Catalonia last race. It's shaping up to be another one of those again, between Ackerman, Usby and Chenet.
Fortunately, though, unlike Catalonia, they didn't go 3 wide into the first corner.
No.
There it is. We've got, in fact, Chenet's managed to overtake Usby. Chenet, also in a BMW car, has managed to take 2nd place from Usby. Definitely not looking Usby's way so far this race, but there are still 39 minutes left in this race. 39.5 minutes, sorry. So still a lot can happen. Drivers still may have to pit. They may decide to pit themselves for more fuel if they decide to underfuel. Or anything is possible. Driver error. Lapping cars. I don't know. What happened in Hungary a few seasons back? We had a duck on the track. No, that was a pigeon, and that was Canada. But still, anything's possible.
Yeah. Never know.
As Ackerman almost is pulling out a 2nd gap. There he is, 9 tenths ahead. Will he be able to pull away now from Chenet, the other BMW driver? Although not part of the same team, could there be team orders between Chenet and Ackerman to try and, you know, work together and keep Usby back? Who knows? It'd be interesting if they did that. New recruit, new pro recruit to the Team Rocket roster.
Yeah. Or maybe a whole new team.
As the top 3 go through into this 3rd sector now, if I have a look at the GT4s, we've got Falkenberg currently with Falzetti just 0.3 behind, all looking down the outside into the chicane. Could he go for a switchback onto the Greenpoint driver? He does. Looks down the inside. He's got his car right alongside into the 3rd sector, into the 2nd sector, sorry. Almost colliding the two. I think they're both Greenpoint drivers, in fact. They seem to have the same color scheme. Oh no, they got similar. They got similar, not the same. My bad. But still very close to colliding with one another. As now Ackerman pulls out that 1 second gap, crucial 1 second gap to Chenet just behind him. Into the 3rd sector, we've got sharp right-hander. Falzetti still 0.3 seconds behind Falkenberg. Again, 37.5 minutes left of the race, so loads to happen. Will we see the GT4 driver get ahead, or will he still be behind his opponent, his competitor, for 12th place, for 1st place in the GT4 championship? Across the line, finds himself still 5 tenths behind, unfortunately. Not close enough to even consider looking down the inside for a move into the 1st corner. Back to the front though, as Ackerman continues to extend that lead, now 1.2 seconds ahead. Usby, crucially for Ackerman's race, Ackerman's championship race, is still stuck behind Shanae, half a second back now. There is one BMW blocking another from the current defending champion. Interesting to see what happens or what comes of this race. That's slightly further back. Unfortunately, I've just missed it, but we see James now ahead of the Porsche of Jake Spinner there. Jake Spinner. So now James back up into 10th place, which is where he qualified at the start of the race. Rocking the Team Rocket livery, looking very nice with that number 2, the defending AM champion from last season.
Yep. I have to say the livery looks really good with the sunset in the background.
Oh yeah, definitely. It just the yellow and the red just pops with that color. As now Ackerman, what on earth has happened? Ackerman's got 3 seconds ahead of Shanae, and Oosby is down into 6th place. We've just missed a massive incident. I think Oosby may have made a driver error into a corner, finds himself down to 6th place. Cthulhu now into the podium places for the overall race, leading the amateur tier. I have a feeling if Shanae's dropped 2 seconds now, it was a collision, or a possible collision, between the 2 BMWs themselves. Themselves, that's the word.
Possibly, but of course we won't know much until like reports happen, if they do happen.
Here he is, Oosby, right behind his teammate Jay Kelly. Without a doubt, there will be team orders between the two to let the faster driver, the current defending championship leader, through. As although all points are crucial for the championship, I was going to say for the team, but there is no Constructors Championship. But no, Oosby needs to really now push and get ahead. Doesn't look like there's any team orders. Just looks like he's just catching. He does look to the inside. He goes for a late move. Okay, I think, nah, it's definitely... Oh no, it's not team orders. There goes the switchback. Kelly looks to the inside to try and take the move back from his teammate, but Oosby manages to get a decent exit out of the corner, defending from his teammate into the second corner. Good driving by the pair. Of course, they are teammates. I would suspect nothing less than good driving between the two. But now, Shanae finds himself 3.8 seconds behind. I need to have a look now in free cam. Does he? No, he does have some damage on the side of his car. Yeah, the left side of his car has got scuffs on it. So I think there was a collision between the 2 BMWs. It'll be interesting to see what comes from the reports after this race. Of course, every driver has the right to submit a report if they were involved in an incident and they think the other driver is at fault. And at every Tuesday, 6 PM UTC, a group of stewards will come together and review all of the reports. So, of course, I do expect that we'll have some reports in that meeting for that possible incident between the 2 BMW drivers. Ackerman now crossing the line, starting the 7th lap. Shanae 4.2 seconds behind. Definitely losing time. I wonder if that light side damage to his car is losing him time in that 3rd sector, middle and 3rd sector.
Yeah, of course we won't get damage screens or anything, so we can't actually see the extent of his damage, but...
At least the game shows visual damage a lot better than F1.
Yeah. I just have to say this game's a lot more refined than F1.
Shocking that. I think Cody should learn a thing or two.
Yeah, maybe.
Slightly further back, again, another battle. Unfortunately, we've missed. I think Falzetti now finds himself ahead of Falkenberg. Falkenberg now 4 seconds behind his competitor for the GT4 Championship.
It'll be a very close battle heading to the final 2 races of the season.
Indeed. Slightly further down the order, we got Kevin Happyface in the green, mean, lean, green. I don't know where I'm going with this now. Got Kevin in the green Audi, tailing our new driver Max in the Ferrari, 0.4 seconds behind. Into the last chicane, into the last hairpin, sorry. Very tight line by the Audi driver. Unfortunately, Ferrari not going as tight as he probably would have hoped. Kevin, though, not getting the best of exits of the corner, now finds himself 0.6 seconds behind. Certainly a battle to keep an eye on. So as we now watch our drivers go around Hungary, a very popular track, but also a very well-known track to have very few overtaking opportunities. So it's going to be very quiet portions of the race. Ollie, how are you doing today?
I'm not bad. Tired.
You're awake though, mostly.
Ish. Yeah. Thought I'd hop
As
in.
Kevin spins coming into, what is that corner? That is the 5th corner. That is the curb-killing corner for F1. And I suspect in ACC it is also quite a deadly curb. It is a very high, very raised curb. So unfortunately, Kevin finds himself down, what is that, 2 positions, I believe. Or 1 position down into 9th place with James just behind him now. Probably around 5 or 6 seconds behind him now.
Yeah.
And he'll find himself about 1.5 seconds behind Max just ahead of him. Oh, Sinister, sorry, just ahead of him. Let's see if I've got my estimations correct. As Kevin comes towards the line for the 3rd sector. Kevin 4 seconds behind. I did say around 3 or 4 seconds, didn't I? I think I did. With James
so, yeah.
about 5-6 seconds behind. James next across the line, 10 seconds behind. Okay, I'm a little bit off. Close enough though. Yeah, you should get yourself a coffee. Might wake you up.
It might.
To be fair, I could go for a coffee right about now.
Yeah, all the action from our ACC race might wake me up. Never know.
Who knows, indeed.
Anything can happen as we are under the 30-minute mark now.
Indeed, approaching that halfway through the race. Sinead now almost 5 seconds behind Ackerman. Dare I say it, I do dare. I think Ackerman, if he keeps this up, he's got this race win in the bag. Still roughly another 20... Nope, another 17 laps roughly to go. Yep. Estimated 27 laps in 45 minutes.
And he will be cutting that championship lead down from it.
As Kevin again, unfortunately, comes out of the 4th corner, finds himself spinning into the wall. That is going to be some front damage for sure for that Audi driver. Yeah, you can see a lot of scuff marks there.
Yeah.
Let's just hope that is not severe damage. It doesn't look like it's severe, but we can see slightly under the hood. Very unfortunate. Definitely a race to forget for the Audi driver as now James gets through. James now finds himself up into 9th place. That car does not look healthy at all.
Yeah, some of the green paint's been a bit scratched off.
I think the green mean machine has had enough of those walls and decided to have a bit of a fight with it. A bit of a tussle. Yeah. Slightly further up the grid, we've got Oosby going down the inside into the final chicane. Or not even the final chicane, even into the 1st corner. Finds himself now ahead of Elcor, the McDonald's car. The McDonald's Audi car. Oosby now up into 4th place, slowly making his way back into the fight for the win of this race.
That gap is still extending between Ackerman and Chennai. It's now up to 6.3 seconds.
Impressive drive by the Aston Martin driver. I mean, he has said time and time again that he loves the Aston Martin. It really suits his driving style.
Yeah.
And while this track clearly is showing that raw pace, that raw talent that he has for that car, I would have loved though if you could choose where the driver sits in the different cars. As we see Oosby now, oh, that was a very close move, very close to the front end of the Audi there for Cthulhu. Oosby now finds himself up into third place. Very risky move, honestly, from our perspective, from my perspective there. But no, Ackerman was complaining a few weeks back that he would have been driving the Bentley throughout this entire season had the driver seat been on the other end, on the other side of the car. So it would have been cool to see the Bentley on track. We did have one Bentley last race. Unfortunately, our Bentley driver is not with us today for the race. It's be interesting to see what happens. Oosby now into the 11th lap, approaching 2.5 minutes away from the halfway mark, finds himself back into the podium places for the pro race, for the overall race even. Cars go that. I can't. How would you pronounce that, Ollie? How would you make that sound?
Zoom.
That's what I would assume was zoom. But they do indeed. They do go with zoom around the track. How are you doing, Ari? I'm gonna go with Ari. I'm not gonna try. I really am terrible with names. I say I'm really terrible. For the most part, I'm terrible with names, so I'm not going to try and make an attempt at the name and slaughter it horribly. How are you doing today? Right. Here it is, Oosby into third place, 5 seconds behind Chennai. Chennai, who finds himself now 7 seconds, behind Ackerman. So that is what is that? 7-5, 12 seconds behind Ackerman as Ackerman crosses the line to start the 12th lap. Dare I say it's coincidence? I think not, but let's see what the BMW driver can do. Michael, hello. That is a very interesting name to say, at least, Michael. I'm not even going to attempt trying to pronounce that. Yeah, I'm going to assume it's not English. I'm going to assume it's whatever country you're from. I'm again not going to try and guess that because I've already forgotten. Polish nickname. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't attempt that. I would have slaughtered the Polish for that. Into the middle of this middle sector, in fact, into the chicane, we've got Elcor, the second BMW on the track, just behind Cthulhu ahead of him. 0.3 seconds behind into the third sector. Definitely, you can see just watching two cars. There's the halfway mark. We can see two cars, exactly the same car, of course, different setups, different drivers behind the wheel. But they cannot cut that time down and overtake in the middle sector. It really goes to show how difficult that middle sector is.
I'd say most of the overtakes are made in Sector 1 on this track, and it's just a case of if you don't get past the car, stick behind them the rest of the remainder of the lap.
Indeed, it's either as Elcor now flashes his lights to Cthulhu, who's always usually the one to flash his lights. It's always been the final couple chicanes into the third sector, or into the first few corners of the first sector. But if you see a move around any other corner, they are quite a daring driver to be willing to risk their entire race for a move in that middle sector, and honestly, kudos to them if they manage to make it. Artist Picturer is the English version. That is... Are you an artist, Michael? Can you be our new artist for this server? Can we hire you for that? I say for hire. Voluntarily hire you.
Kevin's in the pits.
Kevin in the pits. I assume that'll be because of that damage, that hefty amount of damage he got.
Yeah, maybe he's just struggling a little bit too much with it.
It is a track that, you know, shockingly, having any aerodynamic problems at all on your car, even in a GT3 car, is actually quite detrimental on this track, considering how technical that third sector is. I would assume, considering how long the pit stop has taken so far, even though it's only been about 15 seconds, he will just go in for that long stop, grab fresh paintwork, French paintwork, French bonnet, French car. No, I'm a fresh bodywork, and of course, perhaps maybe even just a fresh set of tyres, even though the tyres will, without a doubt, last the full extent of this race, before even risking the possibility of a puncture.
Yep. Of course, there is still 19 minutes left of the race, so anything can happen.
Yeah, no, I've never heard "picture" to be used as a friendly insult in any circumstance or conversation. It'd be interesting to know if that's the point of it.
The gap between our two GT4 cars of Alzati and Falkenberg is drastically increasing as the laps go on. Falkenberg now 15 seconds behind Alzati.
I'll go away, Windows. Every time, no matter what I'm doing, it will always pop up saying your DPI has changed when it hasn't changed, and it's really annoying. And then that'll come through into the loop of the audio for the stream or for the recording,
Yeah.
because it takes desktop audio.
Yeah. I always wonder why I hear the Windows notification sound randomly. And of course, I think it's my computer as well.
I'm assuming you used Google Translate there, Michael, to try and work out what it is in English. Because if it is from Google Translate, we all know and love Google Translate, but that is very, very unreliable. Unfortunately, I did try and use it for my Spanish classes when I was younger, when I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. But of course,
Yeah.
I learnt very quickly from my mistakes. Don't use Google Translate. It doesn't know what it's on about. Doesn't know any language.
Yeah, in our Spanish lesson school, the teacher genuinely said never to use Google Translate. Used to be then cutting down the time to Shanae. I think it's gone from about 4 seconds to 2.7
While
in the last
Shanae
lap.
has a much bigger gap now, down to 8 seconds to Ackerman ahead.
Yeah.
The thing is, Oosby around a track that is very famous for its inability to have consistent overtakes throughout the whole track. Oosby will have to overtake Shanae first, clear him, and then cut the 8 seconds down to Ackerman, and then overtake Ackerman as well.
Yeah, and that's in 15 minutes.
Interesting to see. If he pulls it off, he deserves the championship for this season. Holy hell, that is
Yeah.
impressive driving around this track. But if he doesn't, still an incredible recovery drive by the BMW. Still 15 minutes remaining, 15 and a half minutes remaining, so lots to happen.
Not entirely sure that Oosby can win the championship for this race.
It'll be impressive if he does, to say the least.
Yeah.
And considering that, Michael, you say that being an artist picturer is meant to be some sort of friendly insult, I can tell, yeah, no, it's definitely a very creative insult, because I've never thought in any world I would hear an insult such as calling someone an artist. For any reason. As we now see our drivers go around Hungary once again, now into the middle sector, 17th lap of the race. Something to note for a community thing. As Cthulhu gets a drive-through. I think that's Cthulhu getting a drive-through for penalties on track limits. As we also had a GT4 driver get completely out of the way of Ackerman going off of the track, which is fair enough, I guess. But Cthulhu now with a drive-through penalty, if he does not serve that before the end of the race, I actually don't know what happens. I would assume he gets disqualified. But considering that he has not been lapped yet, that drive-through certainly will not cause him to get lapped, but will certainly throw him out of position, out of the possibility of getting a podium for the amateur tier. Very unfortunate to see, although we did make sure to remind our drivers during the briefing earlier that the track limits are very, very unfair on this track. I mean, there are some corners that you can take wide, some corners that look like you can take wide, but no, you can't. The game will just penalize you for it. So now here we see Cthulhu into the pits, unfortunately having to serve that drive-through. He's going to serve it sooner rather than later, which is fair enough. Manages to stop his car in time for the pit entrance now as he goes through the pits. We have number 91, Jay Kelly, just behind him now, taking 5th place. Next across the line is the Ferrari driver, Max Yoda, now to pass Cthulhu in the pits. Max up into 6th place. Cthulhu now down to 7th place, serving that drive-through penalty. All is not lost though. Still plenty to happen. He will find himself 2 places down and I think that's about 10 seconds behind Max. But Cthulhu is a very, very good driver, very clean driver. Definitely can cut that time down and manage to catch to the driver ahead. Speaking of the driver ahead, Oosby now 2 seconds behind Shanae. In fact, he might be, as the timing screens get updated shortly, might be about 1.5 seconds. He's managed to cut down 3/10 in the past, like 2 or 3 corners. So Oosby's definitely pushing his car to the limits. Shanae now still just 7.7 seconds behind Ackerman. Ackerman maintaining that lead ahead of maintaining the lead he has behind the drivers, to the driver behind him. There we go.
Because I think Cthulhu had a yellow flag out for him, and I think now, yeah, Sinister has overtaken him as well, and Konos is, yeah, ahead of him again. So,
Interesting. Let's have a quick look to see what happened there, if we can see. F7. Oh, that's a hefty damage. I think Cthulhu, fortunately, has had a bit of a collision with the wall. Can we see under the hood? Does he have an engine in there? No, no engine. Ah, that's unfortunate. I guess Audis don't need an engine to be quick.
nope.
But that'll be another pit stop for the green and blue driver, number 75, Cthulhu.
Yeah, he's struggling a lot with it, you can already see.
To see what happens now as Ackerman gets past a GT4 driver. That's Falzetti. He manages to get past, increasing that gap to Shanae, 8.5 seconds now. Shanae having to defend from Oosby, half a second behind. Will we see Oosby get ahead of Shanae before we hit the 10-minute mark? He's got 18 seconds, 16 seconds to do that. I mean, it is possible. We are entering the chicane. Type right-hander. He could try and look for a move down the inside, but he's far too far back for that move. But it is the chicanes. He's been very brave around these hairpins, to make a move around the outside on a lot of drivers. So let's see. Now 9 seconds gap from Ackerman and Shanae. Oosby managing to keep his car very well under control now with a GT4 car just ahead of Shanae. Is the GT4 car going to prove difficult for Shanae to overtake? It shouldn't be, considering the pace advantage that GT3 drivers have. There are the blue flags. Shanae going down the inside, making a move. The GT4 driver staying very well out of the way of the fighting battle ahead of them now. But Oosby, crucially, has lost time into the first sector behind Shanae. So although the GT4 driver did get out of the way respectfully and following the rules as they should, Oosby did not manage to cut that gap down. And with Shanae defending, he is losing time to the car ahead. Shanae now 9.2 seconds behind. I think we might hit a 10-second gap between the top two drivers before we even reach the last few laps of this race, now approaching the 21st lap of this race. ACC does have some great camera work. Camera work. It'd be nice if Codemasters learnt a thing or two from them. But unfortunately, you know, it's Codemasters. They don't like to learn from other people. They just like to code terribly.
Yeah, it would be really nice if we had more control over the camera work in F1. It would make some great shots.
The only thing I request is the ability to choose what camera angle. If we had that ability, then spectating drivers and commentating and doing all the battles would be so much better.
Yeah, because there's cases, I know especially, I think it was last weekend, when we were streaming, there were cases where, like, someone was making an overtake and the camera would literally pan away.
The camera would pan away or it'd give us a shot of the tyres.
Yeah.
Like, no one cares about the tyres. I mean, we do, but we don't care about the tyres when there's an overtake. It's like Lance Stroll. We don't want to be Lance Strolled, alright?
Yeah.
Slightly further behind. Hopefully we haven't missed it yet. We have not. James finds himself 0.2 seconds behind. This is the other thing, Michael. We got a helicam with ACC. You can choose to have a permanent helicam throughout the race, which of course is fun to watch, but I think the other camera angles are always great to watch as well. But no, James now finds himself after qualifying 10th, and I think possibly having a bit of an incident earlier in the race. Now finds himself up into 8th place, fighting Sinister, the McLaren driver, the only McLaren driver on the grid today, for 7th place. He's certainly got the pace, James. We've seen a lot of good fights from James with other drivers throughout the season, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do. He does look to go for a move down the inside, but fortunately, he knows not to make a move from that far back, keeping his car very well under control into the first few corners. of this first sector into the hairpin now. Sweeping downhill left-hander into a sharp right-hander. You can attack the curbs into the corner, but you want to use as much curb on the outside to help keep your car under control. Now approaching into corner 4 and 5, very tricky curb. We have already seen Kevin, unfortunately, being the one spinning at that corner. Here's the death curb. Got to be very close to the curb. You want to try and get the tightest line possible to get the most out of the track, or get the fastest lap possible, but not too close to spin. Now, the third sector, the middle of the third sector, where we do have yellow flags out for Valkenberg, I believe, the GT4 driver. The third sector being part of the track where overtaking is definitely not possible at all unless you're daring and willing to push the edge. But lots of corners now into a sharp right-hander, very sharp right-hander, down to almost, I think, second or first gear for that corner. Now into the second to last hairpin. James going for a very wide line into the second corner, potentially going for a much better exit into the last chicane, into the last hairpin. Now rounding, he's much closer than last lap to the McLaren ahead, 0.3 seconds behind. He does look to go for a move down the inside. He has got his car practically alongside it. Now alongside the McLaren driver, got the inside line, certainly got the pace for the overtake. Plenty of space provided by either driver, unfortunately though. Sinister going wide out of the first corner. James finds himself now up into 7th place. Very, very clean driving by the Team Rocket driver.
Yeah, very good fighting between both of them.
This is what I mean, James. When you watch back through this, I'm gonna talk to future you. You said at the start, woohoo, you're slow. You ain't slow, you're careful, and that's important. For ACC, as I learned very quickly in my first ACC race with my university last week, it's not about pace, it's about being able to control your car and be able to understand when it's complaining about the corners, about the straights, or anything such like that. So James, very good car control, and through those corners managing to cut that time down consistently and make a very, very clean move into the first corner. I certainly look forward to what overtake opportunities we'll have around Suzuka next week. Though it is also in the rain, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of incidents as well.
Yeah.
And there it is. I didn't even notice, but Ousby is still in third, and Ackerman now has that 10.5 second gap to Shanae behind. 23 laps into this race, now approaching the third sector for Ousby and Shanae. 3 minutes left. Only about 2 laps remaining for the majority of the drivers. We'll see as Ackerman crosses the line shortly. Let's go on board with the driver in the lead. His last lap a 1:45.2. Current best lap is a 1:44.5. Crossed the line. Still averaging a 1:45. So if he's averaging a 1:45, we definitely have 2 laps remaining in this race. No, in fact, 2 laps remaining in this race. So, in the last 2 laps of this race, what can we see the drivers do? We've got Ousby now having to try and clear the GT4 driver ahead into the third sector, cleanly ahead. I mean, we've mentioned this before, the cars have a huge pace advantage over the GT4s. So I wouldn't be surprised if they manage to make the overtake somewhere in the middle sector. Now, Ousby 0.5 seconds behind with only 2 laps remaining in this race. Can Ousby, crucial for the Drivers' Championship, make an overtake on the BMW driver ahead of him and score more points? But I don't see the... Where is Shanae gone? Oh, there's Shanae. Shanae's right alongside. They were alongside each other, but they weren't showing up on my screen. Ousby now right alongside, finds himself ahead in the chicane of Shanae, but Shanae managing to go for a switchback out of the chicane, but unfortunately, the outside line is not I was going to say it's not the best line to take, but he manages to make it work, finds himself back ahead of Uzbi. This is close fighting between the two BMWs. You've already seen them tussle towards the start of the race, and potentially will, of course, damage to Sinead's car and spun Uzbi is what we are suspecting, though, of course, we don't have all the information. But it said Uzbi was 0.1 second behind Sinead, but Sinead was not on our screen.
Right, man. Leader is on the final lap. Give it all you can.
Very odd.
There we go, leader is on the final lap of the race, round the final hairpin. Sinead manages to defend his second place, still ahead of Uzbi, now 0.4 seconds behind with 50 seconds left. This is the final lap of the race. Can Uzbi finally make the move and claim second place back from Sinead? Will Sinead manage to come out ahead? Sinead coming out of the first corner quite deep on the brakes. Fortunately, though, managing to get his car turned for the corner and accelerating before Uzbi could get his car ahead into the... I've already lost my track map, but into the end of the first sector now. Very shallow uphill left-hander. Cross the curbs, very careful not to strike the curbs too much now. Round the long uphill right-hander. Uzbi looking down towards the inside for a move, but he's not close enough just yet. Now into the chicane where they previously were fighting last lap round. He does look to the inside. Unfortunately, he's not close enough. Still right on the rear bumper of the other BMW driver. Almost pushing each other along. Now into the end of the middle sector. Approaching a shallow right-hander. Not as sharp as the end of this next straight. For the third sector. Now, third sector, they are 3/10 between each other. Sharp right-hander practically down to the first gear. Second gear is probably where you want to be for that corner. But Uzbi crucially, Sinead crucially managed to keep his car very well under control. As we go on board with Ackerman, he crosses the line. Uzbi, or I keep getting the names mixed up. They've got the same car, but Sinead defends brilliantly around the last few laps of this race and has come across the line now to finish in second place. Uzbi, quite unfortunate for his championship fight, finds himself down into third for this race. Are we going to see actually a nice cruise between them? I did say to them, Donuts will not win them the server banner, but if we get some nice formation laps, we've got James suggesting to have a V formation for the race. Next to come towards the line, we have, I believe that is Falkenberg in the GT4. Unfortunately, although he is in the lead, he will find himself in second place. Not as many points as he was hoping to collect for his GT4 championship against his rival Falzetti, who is currently leading, or is currently in first place for the GT4 race. Next across the line, I believe, will be Kelly. There comes Kelly, the second driver of the Pro BMW team. Uzbi already in the pits. Max across the line, the first race with us, his debut race with us, finds himself up into 6th place. Very good debut race with us. James now with, who is that ahead? Falzetti now next across the line, secures that race victory for the GT4 championship. Next across the line, James coming around the final corner with Sinister, just 2 seconds behind. James 7th place, Sinister with 8th. Where is Ackerman and Sinead? Oh, they're doing donuts. Okay. Why am I not surprised? I did say to them, you know, donuts are great and all, but you know, they're not gonna give you that banner. You gotta give me more than just those donuts. But that was a pretty freaking good race. Honestly, I really enjoyed that. There was definitely a lot of stale points. Then again, it is Hungary. It is very difficult to overtake everyone on this race. But no, it was still a good race to see how everyone did. Ackerman, brilliant drive for the Aston Martin driver. Honestly, I'm almost speechless because he came out with a brilliant lap, and I genuinely thought Uzbi was just relaxing on the back foot, letting Ackerman have this victory, and then come out with a brilliant lap. But unfortunately, Uzbi was just a minuscule away from being able to get that pole position, which clearly, as we can see from the race, was the crucial position to win this race.
Yeah.
But no, we've got a few drivers now waiting for an interview. Let's get our race winner in here, although. Let's get Altos. I can't drag him. Okay, there we go. I can drag him. Altosis, welcome. That
Oh,
was
hello.
I'm speechless. That race was amazing. I mean, you put in a stonking lap that Uzbi could not beat, and then you managed to cope brilliantly at this race start and managed to retake the lead of the race. How was that race for you?
I needed it several races ago.
Indeed, you did.
Yeah, at this track, I was not so confident. I thought for sure Uzbi was going to finish first, but I had him down into turn one, had the defense, and then he made one mistake. Shanae got past, and then they started battling, and I just pulled away. That's what should have happened at Barcelona, but it did not.
Yeah, it was very, very unfortunate to see that you guys went 3 wide into Barcelona, but at least you didn't have that here. You managed to all keep it quite clean between the three of you.
The big thing is I was on the inside this time. I'm not in the middle. Can't
Exactly,
do
yeah,
the
the
middle.
inside line is very powerful at Hungary.
But yeah, just a small mistake, and I was through.
Are you looking forward to Suzuka next week with the with 100% rain?
I am not looking forward to Suzuka. I'm setting my sights on Monza.
Well, every point is valuable, especially considering that you are the defending champion from last season. You have got to score more points than Newsby. Do you think you've got it? I mean, of course you gotta
I
hope you've got it.
Darkness. I'm pretty sure he's already won the championship.
I
We'll have
don't
to
think
do
he
that
has.
math here.
I think he's about 50 points ahead, and with you scoring more points now, it's not secured him the championship. He has to just score no points whatsoever in the next two races, which is very unlikely.
Yeah, that's the problem.
But
He's
anything can
16
happen.
points ahead. I think.
I don't know. I'll have to look at the maths
Oh no,
afterwards.
I'm an idiot. He's way more. Yeah. He's probably won this flat out.
But still, you put up a good fight. You still got two more races, sorry, to at least put some more wins on your belt.
Yeah, I can start my winning streak for next season.
Exactly. Got to start the next season strong. But thank you for joining us for the interviews. Let's try and get our other race winners in here. We've got Andrea Falzetti. He was our GT4 race winner. I can't drag people again. There we go. Andrea, welcome to the commentating box. That was a very good race for you in the GT4 Championship, managing
Yes, it
to
was.
get ahead. How was that race for you?
Yeah, it started a bit tricky because Falkenberg got me on the race start, and we had a really nice fight for the first 6 laps. In the end, he made a mistake in turn one, and I managed to go past and pull the gap. But we practiced a lot for this one, so we knew we were fast. And I mean, we needed the win because we can only keep this championship open if we win every race. So this was what we were after, and we got it.
Are you looking forward to Suzuka next week in the rain? You think that's going to be another
Yeah.
race victory for you?
It's gonna be really tricky because I never tried Suzuka, but in the past races of the season, I've seen I was fast in Kyalami, where when we were practicing the wet, so I'm optimistic about that. But I don't know, it's a new track for me. I just bought the DLC, so um, I don't know. It's all new for me. And in the end, Monza, I think it will go down in Monza between me and Falkenberg, and it will be kind of a nail biter. Probably it will be the last championship still up for grabs in Monza.
Indeed. Well, it was a very interesting race indeed today for the two of you.
Yep.
And we look forward to seeing what battles you have for us at Suzuka next week.
Yeah, he defended really well for the first 5 laps. I think I was on the verge of getting a bit frustrated. Luckily, I kept my head cool, and I mean, we knew we were fast, so we just had to not make mistakes, or at least make less mistakes than Falkenberg, and eventually we would go through. But yeah, he defended really well, so that speaks for tracks where we might have a closer pace. That he is a good defender, and there will be really exciting on-track action in Suzuka and Monza, probably with the championship still undecided.
Indeed. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for a very interesting battle on the track today. We look
Thank
forward to
you.
seeing you
Welcome
at
to Phoenix.
Suzuka next week.
Yep.
And I think for our race winners, that is it. We do have GT3 driver. We got ASAP as well. Let's try and get ASAP. I believe he's the teammate to Oosby, so played a crucial part. ASAP. How was that race for you? I mean, you obviously at some point in the race, Oosby had a bit of a spin, so I had assumed there would be some level of team orders in GT3 for you to let him through. But how was that race for you?
The race was fine. The car was a little bit slippery, but yeah, when I seen Usby spin, I tried to give him as much as I could, but he was still faster than me even with that spin. So, but that's the legend that he is. Shout out to him, to be honest, because I wouldn't have had the setup to do what I did this weekend. It was a tough one.
Good races throughout the good battles throughout the race. Sorry, you looking forward to Suzuka next week with the rain chance of rain?
Oh, I always love a rainy race, so especially at a new track as well, being Suzuka. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to next weekend. So should be a good one.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing what battles you have in store for us next week. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for racing as well this week, and we'll see you next week.
Enjoy, boys. Have fun.
Uh, we'll do one more interview. We got Vin sitting there. Let's see if Vin wants to do an interview as well. We'll do 4 interviews for this race. Vin, welcome. I mean, that
Hello.
was one hell of a race. Unfortunately, you didn't come out with the race victory in the GT4 Championship, but you still
Uh,
scored points to try and keep that lead ahead.
I drove after I got passed by Fazetti. I drove the rest of the race with one hand, so that tells you a lot about how the race went.
Oh no! But you still
Yeah,
have two. You still got 2 races left, so it is still possible to still come out on top.
mathematically it is. Logically it isn't. Fazetti is basically already champion. He's just better.
But if
I'm still ahead,
you can put the
but
practice in, put in the work, you can still come out ahead.
yeah, but I also did like 100 laps for Hungary, and he was 2 seconds quicker. So I don't know. I'll try, of course, but I don't know. I don't know. It's not very. I'm not very optimistic, to say the least.
Well, we certainly are. We do love to see a good battle. There's good battles throughout the whole race today. You looking forward to Suzuka next week with it being in the rain?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. With a very quick no, I can probably assume it's the confidence for that track and for it being in the rain is my assumption then.
Yeah. I don't like rain, and Suzuka is not really a track I like. So
That's
yeah,
fair enough.
really tricky. Very tricky.
Well, we look forward to seeing you race next week at Suzuka, no matter how tricky it is. It's always fun to see all the drivers who are brave enough to put their car on the grid and make it round for the 45 minutes. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for racing today as well.
Yep.
And we look forward to seeing what you have in store for us next week.
Yep.
Okay. Ollie. Well, that was one very interesting, very exciting race with a good portion of stale parts, but it is Hungary. I expect no
Yep.
less. Definitely looking forward to Suzuka next week. Thank you for joining me today in the commentators box.
No worries.
Um,
Glad to be here.
and I look forward to next week. In fact, I look forward to the next stream as well because we got Tier 2 tomorrow. I will be streaming Tier 2 1800 UTC for F122. They'll be racing around, I've already forgotten what track. Portugal. It's a sprint race weekend as well. One shot qualifying, 11 laps of sprint, and 33 laps of race. We'll also have Tier 1 stream 2 hours after that, so be sure to have some time free to watch that. Until next time, though, thank you again, Ollie. We will see you guys next week for ACC.